Captain Morgan, part of Happy Hour. Here's Tony Reale.
Hey now. Welcome back around to the show that gives points for inside information. Inside information. Mark Jackson already in the showdown. Let's see who's meeting him there.
It's the first word.
So the Warriors think the Nuggets are playing dirty with Stephen Curry. Does video corroborate? Denver says Golden State's been just as flagrant. Looking on Delecto twice last night on 3. Whatever it is, this series kicked up a couple notches. Curry, quote, "It's fun. It's fun atmosphere, fun type of basketball. They're trying to do anything that can get back in the series, so you got to expect it." And Jackson, of course, with the inside information that Denver's sending hitmen out to get Curry. What do you think of that? Do the Warriors have beef here, Woody Page?
Oh, not at all. Stop your whining, Mark. You've said during the course of the regular season, when you send a player out to commit a flagrant foul on the Houston Rockets because they were going to set a record for three-pointers, and you said afterwards, "I'm an old-school player. I'm an old-school coach." Well, guess what you saw last night, Mark? I was there. That was old-school basketball. It was tough and curvy on both sides, and the Nuggets were playing tough on Steph Curry. And who got the flagrant fouls last night? It was the Warriors, not the Nuggets. And if you look at the foul shots, the number were about equal in the game. The Nuggets had just tightened up their defense. They're playing harder, and the Warriors couldn't handle it last night.
So says Woody, the man reporting from Denver. Jamal, what's your take on last night?
Inside information.
Well, I think what this boils down to is the fact that Mark Jackson was probably a little bit upset that his star didn't respond to the physicality. As someone who played in the era where we saw only physical basketball, it just reeks a little shallow for him to all of a sudden be complaining about. If he really wants to have an issue with something, he should have an issue with how Denver mishandled his team in the paint. They outscored them 50-24. Bogut was a complete no-show. That is where the blame lies. It's not in any kind of back and forth between Denver and Stephen Curry.
Do you believe, though, Israel, inside information about Hitman trying to get Curry here?
Look, I'll say this much about the Mark Jackson, and I'll answer your question in a second, Coach. This is just classic playoff coaching, okay? He just happens to be better at the exaggeration of it. He just happens to the right choice of words, because you can't change the previous game. He's looking forward to the next game. He wants to open the eyes of the referees and say, hey, look, this can't happen in the next game, especially if they want to win, because the last thing they want to do is go to Game 7 and try to win in Denver again. I'll say this, though. This part I've never seen before, basically trying to break the Nuggets from the inside out with the inside information, because it's got to upset them. It's got to upset George Karl that hypothetically this player came to Mark Jackson and said, hey, look, I'm not really in on this. We're trying to play dirty, but hey, just so you know, I'm not in on this. That's nonsense. Like, that's got to upset George Karl to the nth degree. So I think that is a move I've never seen.
Pablo, how do you read this?
Well, the most indefensible thing I thought Mark Jackson said after the game was his comparison of Kenneth Faried to those enforcers of yore, to Antonio Davis, to Dale Davis, to Charles Oakley. Somewhere Charles Oakley is on his porch saying to himself, this is what enforcement is like today. I mean, Kenneth Faried basically had a couple of trips, a couple of elbows. That was nothing. Andrew Bogut was the guy throwing the two-handed NBA jam foul that knocked Faried down to the floor. And look, the reason why the Warriors lost the game wasn't the dirty alleged plays. It was the fact that Steph Curry was 1 for 7. It was that Andre Iguodala did his best LeBron impersonation, going 25, 12, and 7, and stopping Jarrett Jack where the offense flows through. That's why they lost. And yes, it reeks of playoff game.
Whether you believe there's inside information in Hitman or whether it's all an elaborate ruse to get the referees to call some fouls in the next game, does the NBA do anything about this? Woody Page, you want to answer that?
No, it's an old Phil Jackson trick